Hello again, it's your old friend Theta, the Monotone Messiah. It's time for another Q&A. I've been doing these every Friday, but I will probably have to slow that pace down because my schedule is getting crazier by the day. I'll try to keep it as regular as I can, just be ready for this to not be delivered every single week. Anyway, before I start, you should know that if you're interested in having your questions answered in one of these, then you should join the Cult of Theta Discord by going to invite.gg/ThetaVR. This is the only place I pull questions from. We also have a group called the Kool-Aid Crew for running scrims that give new players an opportunity to mix it up and learn from vets such as myself, Menorchid, Chief Pineapple, and many other League players. Come join us if you just want a quality, competitive experience without the pressure. And with that out of the way, let's get into the questions. Distorted asks, what's your all-time favorite moment you've had in a round of Onward? I like to break this down into two different types of moments, individual and team. As an individual, my all-time favorite moment has to be getting a silent knife kill during a casted match. It was against Mike Crook, one of the best players in the world, so it's pretty hard to top that from an individual perspective. From the team side, it's pretty hard to pick just one moment since I have a full catalog of fantastic moments with my teammates, but if I absolutely had to, if you put a gun to my head, I think my favorite was defending the Split Street OBJ with Mono in our game against Ember from Season 10. Our comms were tight, we had all the right angles covered, and we overall supported each other very well. I didn't even get the final kill, but it was one of the most exciting, exhilarating moments I've experienced with a teammate. For your reference, I'll include the film of both moments at the end of this video for anyone who wants to watch them. Coney Games asks, how do you find good/fun lobbies? This is a great question for the state of the game as it is right now, as we're still experiencing a sort of Wild West period in Onward. There are tons of new players, and that means there's an increased level of chaos in lobbies, especially pub lobbies. The short answer to this is to get a lobby squared away before you even launch the game. Go onto the Onward Discord and ask people in League General if they want to get a lobby going. These days, I rarely jump into random pub lobbies because they are so hit or miss. While I don't mind playing with new people and helping them get better, there seem to be quite a few new players who are either more interested in trolling or firmly believe that they know a whole lot more than they actually do and refuse to take any kind of feedback. I will admit I have a somewhat of an advantage here, as I've been playing for a while and can look through lobbies for experienced players. If I see a crowd of longtime League players, it's easy for me to tell if it's a quality lobby. If you aren't in that position, you'll often be better off going into League Gen, like I said, and saying something along the lines of, I'm looking to get a lobby started with people who want to play and get better, is anyone around? You don't have to use that exact wording, but that's roughly the message you should be trying to get across. We also get lobbies and scrims going in my Discord, so feel free to join that if you're struggling to find a game to get into. There's almost always a small crowd ready to play and learn with you. Hecklack asks, what are the features of a quality custom map from a competitor's perspective? Before answering this, I need to qualify what I'm about to say by mentioning that I've never designed a map before. The closest I've come to that process is helping Mono with playtesting his custom maps for 1.7, which was educational, but not even close to the same thing as making one myself. I'm sure Mono and many other map makers will either disagree with some of what I have to say, or feel like I left an important point out, but I will do my best here. Anyway, from a competitor's perspective, the first thing I think about is whether one side has an advantage over the other by virtue of the map design itself. For example, there was a D-Day custom map in 1.7 that was pretty much a turkey shoot for Volk. Much like the real D-Day landings, the defenders had the advantage because they were in a covered position with excellent visibility of the battlefield, and the offense was out in the open. It was an interesting idea and all, but that map wasn't much fun to play. Verticality also plays into this. A lot of map makers include too many tall buildings, and it becomes a race to occupy the high ground, which is unassailable once one team takes it. There were some custom maps that involve skyscrapers or other very tall buildings that stopped being much fun after everyone figured out that they could just get up high and dominate the other team. Volk would often spawn close or in those positions, which meant their default advantage grew exponentially. Secondly, I like to think about how randomized the map is. You can see this even in the League default maps. For example, in Suburbia or Cargo, you always know where the spawns are. Therefore, the tactical depth of these maps tends to be a lot shallower than the larger maps with randomized spawns like Downfall and Quarantine. These maps require not only quality tactics when it comes to how you engage the other side, but a deep awareness of information asymmetry and how it plays into the outcome of a round. My third consideration is how large and complex the map itself is. On the one hand, you don't want maps that are so small that the game turns into pure reflexes and luck. On the other, you don't want a map so massive that every round comes down to the last few seconds. Likewise, you don't want the buildings to be so sparse that there's no possible granularity with callouts, and you don't want structures to be so numerous and/or complex that callouts become overwhelming. Overall, it's about figuring out a middle ground on most design issues when you're trying to make maps that competitors will like. Extremes don't tend to work out well, because competition is supposed to present environments where competitors have a roughly equal chance of winning based on starting conditions. In Onward, defense has a slight advantage from the get-go, but other than that, a map should not contain some clear path to dominance that's easily accessible to only one side. To be clear, the map doesn't have to maintain equality at all times, as the players should have a means of creating advantageous situations for their teams. But dominant play should spring from quality tactics, not exploiting the map. So again, those are just my thoughts. I'm sure custom map makers would think, again, I'm leaving things out or I'm wrong about certain things, and that's fine. This is just from the perspective of a competitor who has played many custom maps. Milliam Platypi asks, what's missing from VR for you, and what's your ideal but realistic future for VR? The big one for me is a lack of quality multiplayer experiences outside of Onward. There are some mind-blowing single-player games out there, many of which seem to be positioning themselves as a more immersive, slightly more interactive version of movies. But when it comes to thriving, high-quality multiplayer scenes, there just aren't that many choices right now. The choices are even more limited if you're interested in competing. Onward is a great game and all, but the primary reason I keep coming back is because of the people who play it. If you look at the game itself, it's pretty sparse. There isn't much content attached to Onward. There's tons of tactical and strategic depth, but if you don't have good people to play with, you'll miss most of it. Having a full-blown competitive scene and a team to play with makes it a much more compelling experience. There have been other attempts to make good multiplayer scenes in VR, but they all either fail or focus on dynamics that I personally consider boring. Take VR chat, for example. It's massive, but it's not a game. It's just a place to hang out. There's some creative stuff on there, but it's just not that interactive in terms of what you can do with other players. Or Elite Dangerous, which is a game, but it's primarily a grind simulator where you're just moving yourself or stuff from one place to another. As much as I love space games, it's not that interesting of an experience and there's zero competitive potential. I suspect this will change in the near future, but for now VR multiplayer is pretty limited if you don't enjoy tactical first-person shooters. In terms of the future of VR itself, I'd like to see the technology complement people's lives and provide a quality gaming experience, but not act as too much of an escape hatch. The best and worst thing about VR is that it creates immersive experiences that, for now, can't be matched. What concerns me is that people often use immersive experiences as a way to escape from the real world, and sometimes that turns into a means of avoiding the responsibility to solve real problems. While I know this has been a problem for only a minority of people with other media formats, like people have become completely embedded in games like World of Warcraft to the detriment of their real lives, VR holds much higher potential for this kind of behavior. It's one thing to look at a screen and ignore your surroundings, but when you put on a headset, you can't see anything outside of it. This makes it a prime medium for dysfunctional, avoidance-based behavior. I am skeptical that we'll be able to solve this until we solve some other pressing societal issues, but I won't get into that here. I've thought about making a video on the philosophy of VR and its impact on society, but it is pretty far outside of what I normally make, so if that's something you're interested in, then leave a comment or let me know in the Discord, and I'll see what I can put together. Emptyful asks, I rarely use my mic because I can only play when my kids are sleeping and typically my wife is studying in the same room. Should I even bother with PvP modes or just stick with co-op and gun game? That can be a tough one because Onward relies so heavily on communication with your teammates. I've been asked in-game about how to mute the mic, and the first thing I always say is, don't mute your mic, we need to be able to talk to you. My recommendation is to tell everyone on your team that you won't be able to talk to them because of your situation, and you will instead use mic clicks or something along those lines. Most people will be fine with that. What most people will not be cool with is pure silence. If you just show up in a lobby and never say anything, especially if you're dealing with League players, people tend to not be alright with that. So just give people a warning, and I think you'll be alright. I will say that not using the mic means you're pretty much ruled out from competitive play. I can't imagine a team being okay with one player not using their mic. But it sounds like you're not really looking for that, which is fine. I will say there is one player I know of, my old pal Chromie, who was a League player but is no longer an active competitor. His mic doesn't work and he always plays silently, but he's so good nobody really cares. He gives a click or two every time he gets a kill, and if you're on his team, you'll be hearing a lot of clicks. The guy is a ninja. Shout out to Chromie. Navaste asks, how do I transition from self-focused tactics to team-focused tactics? This question stems from some conversations we've had in the Discord about the difference between playing as an individual and playing as a teammate. Believe it or not, I already have a video in the works dedicated specifically to this subject, so I won't spend a ton of time drilling into the details here. But in terms of what you can do to start that transition, the first step is always to make sure you're playing in competitive environments with the same group of people as much as possible. The reason so many pub lobby killers fail when they transition to competitive play is because they don't understand that their KDR is not what matters when you're playing for blood in a comp setting. They're used to running around on their own and killing people, thinking only about what's best for themselves. It doesn't matter in a pub if you win or lose, since there's nothing on the line, and as a result, many people just maximize for their own performance. What matters in competition, however, is that you're making decisions that will help your team, and that often means making sacrifices on your end. The best example I can think of is making a call out when someone is near you, which will ensure that your teammates know where the enemy is, but this can also compromise your own ability to survive the round. You might end up getting killed, but your teammates get the refrag or realize that some portion of the enemy formation is open. In other words, doing what's best for the team is often not what's best for you as an individual, and vice versa. Military cultures inculcate their members with this concept over and over again, so that during engagements with the enemy, they will not succumb to their own survival instinct and optimize their behavior around staying alive at the expense of the unit. There isn't really a shortcut here, as we're self-focused by nature and need to be trained to think of a bigger picture. The best way to do this in Onward is to build a relationship with the people you're playing with, which will make you care more about what happens to them by default. I played in a lobby with 4 other Mayhemians last night, and several people in my Discord were talking about how rough of an experience it was to face us as a unit. The reason for this is not just skill, it's that we all know how to play together and make decisions that will benefit the team. We don't really care about our own scores, we care about winning, which in turn means we're willing to do things that hurt our own KDRs in the name of helping the team succeed. This is a complex subject, and like I said, I'm making a video about it as a singular concept. So hopefully that can put you on the right path until I publish that particular video. That's all I've got for today. So again, if you want to participate in these Q&A videos, then please come join the Discord by going to invite.gg/ThetaVR. Until next time, this is Theta signing off.
Assuming you can see OBJ on it. Okay.
It's a 2v3. This is so dangerous with Thunder so far off position. Yeah. If Theta can get this knife onto Mike, and this is looking like it's very possible if he stays quiet enough, he might be able to find the knife here. There it is, Theta.
Find the one. Almost missed that.
Theta gets C-Max in the alleyway. Switch tries to get the refrag, but can't get it through the fence and through the window.
Yeah, Theta said that he got one. I don't think he saw Switch. He only called out the one. So, let's look at Kuoka. Here is a. It's not an ice cream truck. It's a body.
Oh. It's an ice cream truck, Vivian.
Wookie is taunting Kuoka. Kuoka is not playing around here. Let's see if Wookie rounds around.
They just shut down this alleyway where he got C-Max.
Wow, he does pick up James.
Yeah, Switch is trying to force the issue and move around, and he successfully makes it past Theta.
Oh. And they are able to cap it, though. Theta's coming in. Oh, he gets them down.
They know where Milkman is. Theta's on objective.
Oh,
Trade
they
goes out. Goes
trade.
down. That's going to be a res on Theta from Monarchid on the objective. Solid attack. Solid defense, though. Able to get it back. Two v1, and the last one is all the way in the south. Switch. Let's see if he can make it into objective. Monar and Theta think he's a different way, judging from what Monar just said. Theta and Monar making sure that they're covering as many angles as they can. Monar's covering the outside, Theta's covering the inside. That's a pretty effective defense. If Switch tries to go for a sneak cap, I don't see any little hidden places he could be, unless he gets that one perfect angle behind the Hummer.
Oh.